Chaotic scenes in Hong Kong have gathered pace as protesters stormed into the legislative building on the 22nd anniversary of the handover of the territory to China. Dozens of demonstrators broke through the glass of the Legislative Council building while a large crowd observed the unrest from outside. Hundreds of people then entered the building, spray painting messages on the walls and occupying the central legislative chamber. Earlier, a small group of mainly students wearing hard hats and masks took apart metal structures on the outside of the building. Iran has breached the limit on its stockpile of enriched uranium set under a 2015 nuclear deal with world powers, the global watchdog has confirmed. The International Atomic Energy Agency said its inspectors had verified the 300-kilogram cap had been exceeded. Iran stepped up production of enriched uranium, which is used to make reactor fuel and potentially nuclear weapons, in response to the reinstated US sanctions. European nations have warned that any violation will bring consequences. China and Japan both say they welcome the diplomatic progress made over the weekend when Donald Trump met the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Mr. Trump became the first US sitting president to set foot in North Korea. The two agreed to resume talks regarding denuclearization, with the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying a fresh round of talks will likely happen sometime in July.
The relevant meetings were constructive and achieved positive results. Especially North Korea and the US agreeing to resume work in talks soon has an important significance. China welcomes this.
As many as 65 people, including 9 children, were taken to hospital in Afghanistan, according to the health ministry. It's after a bomb-laden truck exploded near a defense ministry compound in Kabul during rush hour. There was no immediate word on fatalities. A stray Russian-made missile, apparently launched by Syria, has hit northern Cyprus. Officials say the air defense missile was thought to have been launched during suspected Israeli airstrikes on Syria. The rocket struck a mountainside around 20 kilometers north of Nicosia. Boris Johnson has said the impact of a no-deal Brexit would be very small indeed. The favourite to replace Theresa May repeated his message that he did not think Britain would leave the European Union without an agreement, but that there were many ways to mitigate the effect of a no-deal Brexit. Meanwhile, his rival candidate, Jeremy Hunt, says the country needs a leader now, not a showman.
When I talk to people running their own businesses, to farmers, to shopkeepers, to people on the high street who are worried about the situation that we're in now, they don't want a showman, they don't want to be entertained, they want a Prime Minister who is going to lead us out of this crisis.
At least 744 people, including 72 children, have been injured due to severe floods in southern Siberia. A statement from Russia's Ministry of Emergencies also said 55 settlements remained flooded in the country's Irkutsk region, while more than 2,000 people were evacuated to safety. A cyclone struck the South Siberian region on Tuesday last week, adding rain torrents to local rivers already filled to the brim with spring water coming from the mountains. In Madrid, the regional president says the wildfires there are still active but have now been contained. Firefighters have been battling strong winds and high temperatures as they struggle to control the fire which broke out on Friday. It's already destroyed over 5,000 acres in the provinces of Castilla-La Mancha and Madrid. Meanwhile, parts of Mexico have been blanketed in ice, particularly in the country's Guadalajara region, after a heavy storm of rain and hail. Jorge David Arias Flores says he was visiting his family when he took videos and photographs that showed cars partially buried. Japan has caught its first minke whale since it resumed commercial whaling following a pause of more than 30 years. The mammal weighs 5.6 tons and measures 8 meters and 30 centimeters in length. Japan has long said few whale species are endangered and announced in December that it was leaving the International Whaling Commission to resume hunting, a decision that has led to global condemnation and fears for the fate of whales. And finally, the world-renowned naturalist David Attenborough appeared on stage at Glastonbury to praise its ban on single-use plastic bottles.
Now, this great festival has gone plastic-free.
Glastonbury has banned the sale of water, soft drinks and alcohol in plastic bottles this year. In 2017, the last time the event was held, more than 1 million single-use plastic bottles were sold. Festival goers were encouraged to bring their own bottles or buy steel flasks that could be filled with water at taps and water kiosks around the site. And that's your international news around the world in 5.